looks like Brandon is a touch ahead in game number 2. The Ataxian Probe. Might be a lethal attack here. That hand is rubbish.
Kazu playing with the copies of Dryad Arbor if you're looking to bluff people.
Yeah, the Bluff Arbor, it's going to block. 2 damage going to come across. Back to Kazu we go. He does have a Dryad Arbor in his hand. Natural Order, Glimpse, another land, just drew a copy of Deathrite Shaman. That Dryad Arbor should be banned from coverage.
Yes. I'm not saying that you should be penalized if you play because, you know, Wizards printed it and all, but...
It's not great.
No, it is not.
There is Young Pyromancer. Pretty safe attacks. Last card for Brandon, actually, it's just a Force of Will.
Kazu's got he's got hope here.
Got a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be able to cast Natural Order next turn.
And take a look at the graveyard here is Kazu. See exactly one of the worst things that can happen to me here. You only got 1 card left in your hand. Not too sure what it is.
Well, the worst thing that can happen here is Kazu says no blocks. Brandon has a spell and Kazu dies. So I think he's priced into blocking. So he either has nothing and you should block, or he has something and you should block.
Either you have something or you have nothing. What will it be? We will find out momentarily. There's a block. Puts you to 3.
But as hopeless as this looked when we came over, Kazu has a shot.
Drew another copy of Natural Order.
Though I do not believe, because if he has to cast Natural Order here, and I think he can only generate the 1 blocker. And if he involves sacking a fetch land, well, that's no good either.
Yeah, because then he goes down to 2. Just has to pass the turn back, and we could be in gain life mode with the Deathrite Shaman. Let's see what the draw is here. Didn't get a great look. Looks like it was a volcanic island, so that one's not great either here for Brandon.
This is stressful times if you're Brandon, because you know just 1 real draw. Doesn't even have to be a lightning bolt. Just give me something of substance.
Heaven forbid he drew a card like a Ponder. My goodness.
Exactly. And instead, you know, Kazu gets to trade with a Young Pyromancer and gains a life this turn.
Yep.
And now there's another creature in the graveyard, and so it goes.
Clawing his way back into it. Got to play the land. Get a little closer to Force of Will.
The upshot of this is, you know, if you're on Brandon's side, is Kazu's hand is a mess.
Yeah, and you know that, thankfully. Quirion Ranger does make things interesting, though. A lot of text on that one that matters right now.
And it looks as though both graveyards are flush with creatures.
He can get really creative with this. You activate Deathrite Shaman for a green mana. Then you tap, you play the Ranger, you tap for a green, you pick up the Bayou, you put it back down, you untap the Deathrite Shaman, activate that for a mana, that's 3, sacrifice a fetch on, that's 4, sacrifice a creature, go down to 3. You get the Natural Order. This is interesting.
But I'm not sure.
The Glimpse.
I still don't know how far Natural Order really gets him in this spot.
Well, I mean, Natural Ordering, I'm not entirely sure what he would want to go get. You know, maybe you just go get a Creative Behemoth and be back on defense, which isn't all that exciting, don't get me wrong. I don't love that. That's for sure. He has the ability to cast Natural Order and I think have some defense up. I think that's the important thing.
But he might be able... there's an argument for glimpsing here just to develop his board a little bit.
Sure.
'Cause if he drops a 1-mana elf here, now he's got a lot of blockers to play with. And then maybe he can get to a spot where he stabilizes the board, starts activating Deathrite Shaman, and then when he Natural Orders, he's going to have a board for Craterhoof Behemoth, and that can kill Brandon.
Take a look at the graveyard. Looks like it's going to remove a land. Yep, there that goes. So Deathrite's adding some mana. There's Nettle Sentinel. All right, we're rocking and rolling here. Craterhoof Behemoth with a draw. Touch awkward.
I thought that was a World Spine Worm. In any case, it's a big O.
Yeah. Bayou coming back. Deathrite being on tap. There's a land for the turn. Can activate Deathrite Shaman to gain life.
Still out of the woods yet. Brandon finds a cantrip.
That's the big one. What's this? Brandon might be in the position now where almost all of his draws are because even a land's okay because he can cast Force of Will now.
Sure, but Kazu's going to start clawing back here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in love with drawing a land, but, you know, the worst thing you can draw is a creature.
Yes.
Delver, a Young Pyromancer, and a Swift Spear. So, you know, this is one of the situations where drawing a land is actually all right. Kazu is clawing back, though. You were right about that. He's at 5. Can go up to 7 or 9. Abrupt Decay was the draw. All right, we got a game on our hands now.
I mean, he can even start going on the offensive pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Now Sentinel at least can start attacking because he's going to be playing green spells post-combat. And then maybe a little offense, defense with the Deathrite Shaman. Maybe gain 2, drain you for 2.
Play both sides of the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's deep in the tank. Tough to figure out. And the scary thing here is all it takes is one Brainstorm or Ponder to really set things off for those Swift Spears. Treasure Cruise, if that's still in the deck in some numbers.
For sure.
It can get very ugly from Brandon's side of the table. It just hasn't yet.
Though the Abrupt Decay is a pretty big insurance policy against anything too disastrous happening, even if Brandon draws one of his better cards.
There's a Decay. Clear that out of the way. Pick it up. Untap it. And not going to put it back down just yet. There it is.
And I think that might have been a missed attack from Kazu there with the Veil Sentinel, because if Brandon had a spell he could cast on his own turn, he almost certainly would have cast it and started attacking.
Yeah.
So most likely it's a land or something he can't cast.
I think a Swift Spear, yeah. Now that's one of the worst draws, and all you can do is pass the turn back because he needs to leave up Force of Will.
Yep.
Activate this. Up to 9 goes Kazu. Look at him go.
Yeah, Kazu might have been able to shift a little bit and go a little more offense here and started draining this turn, in fact.
Here's a forest. Just gonna pass the turn back. Brandon wants to sacrifice Pluto Delta. Might sacrifice it.
Well, 13 to 12 is a big price to pay here when your opponent, if they're going to attack you, is going to be in increments of 2. It's going to be Deathrite Shaman activations and hits with Nettle Sentinel.
But he will sacrifice. Can't search for the mountain. Pluto Delta there. There's Volcanic. There it is. 4th one, last one. Draw a card. Another land. Wow.
Yep.
There's a Monster Swift Spear. Pass the turn back. We joined at the wrong time for Brandon.
It is really incredible how poorly Brandon had to draw over these turns for this game to get to this spot.
Man, it takes one Ponder to let him unleash like crazy with prowess.
I mean, when we walked into this game, I thought, it looked like we were in the process of kind of wrapping up.
Yeah.
Kazu's hand had nothing. There was pressure in play, low on life, but
Glimpse the draw.
however many missed draw steps later, I feel like it's something in the neighborhood of 4. Now we're here.
Verdant Catacombs comes into play. Maybe considering casting Natural Order now. Just going to pass the turn back. Brandon will draw a card. Another
Unbelievable.
land. Sacrifice Verdant Catacombs. There's a Bayou. 16 lands in this Delver deck. he's
Drawn them all.
He's found quite a few of them. Take a look down here. It's pretty incredible.
And now Kazu shifts to the beatdowns.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Time to try to close the door. 10 to 10 now. Didn't get a great look at the draw. But Kazu will take a look at the graveyard. Super cards are there to remove. Get lands or spells there. Plenty of spells to pick from.
Yep. No Snapcasters in Brandon's list, so it doesn't really matter what he chooses.
Yeah. Deathrite going to remove. Queer and Ranger going to activate.
But you know what all this flooding out means?
What's that?
The one Bonfire of the Damned.
Oh, my.
Is a really, really juicy draw.
Yeah, that's true. Reclamation Sage.
I've never seen Bonfire in an 18-land list before, for the record.
What's this? Not a Bonfire. Oh, somebody drew a spell.
Oh.
Ponder. What is that?
My goodness, that's so lucky. It's unbelievable.
See if this can resolve. Interesting to see what's happening here. Yeah, looks like he wants a Ponder, but we'll see.
I believe he may have accidentally looked at card number 4.
Not sure. We'll see what the ruling is here. Yeah, it looks like he saw 4. So he's going to shuffle here, these top cards. There we go. 4th card shuffled back in. Shouldn't have seen it. So now it's a mystery. Looks at these 3. There's a Ponder, a Brainstorm, and a Delver. That's what I'm talking about, because he can just chain off like crazy and make these Swifters huge.
Exactly.
And that's not a bad spot to be in. It is a little risky because there is a world that exists where you could die in the counter swing. So has to be careful.
But mana is not a concern here. So at the minimum here, okay, he's just going to shuffle. It felt like at the minimum there he could afford to take the Ponder.
Yeah, I like taking the Ponder, going again, get a card deeper. Maybe taking the Brainstorm, going again, getting a card deeper, depending on what you see.
Because if you, let's say that you find, maybe that he wants to leave up the Force of Will this turn, but it feels like if you find Bonfire as the 3rd card, you can engineer a lethal Bonfire next turn.
Huh, Grafdigger's Cage. Blech. There's an attack. And it looks like Brandon's not going to play the Grafdigger's Cage. He's just going to leave a Force of Will, which I think is smart.
Especially since he has the option of casting the Grafdigger's Cage to add to the prowess count next turn or somewhere down the line.
8-8. Wooded Foothills.
Man, one Bonfire is so exciting.
The fact that it's just a live draw makes it really good.
Anyone can win with a Pyroclasm, you know?
Yeah, you can just get roasted at a moment's notice. It's pretty unbelievable. Hard not to love Bonfire, honestly. Such an awesome card. There's a block.
And this amounts to a lethal attack here because of Deathrite plus Queer and Ranger post-combat. So Brandon's hand is forced. Has to make a block.
He's down to 6. He's got a turn.
Come on, Bonfire.
You know who you're rooting for.
I'm rooting for Bonfire of the Dan, not Brandon.
Take a draw. Nope.
Oh.
It's a red card. It's a lightning bolt. Might give him another turn. Deathrite Charm is going to put him at 2. Yeah, this will get him another turn.
Well, he has to chump block with a Swift Spear, I believe.
Yep. You got to go to Deathrite. Yeah, that thing needs to go. So activate this, remove a spell, drain you for 2, put you to 4. The Ranger, use this, untap that, put you to 2. As you mentioned, can't attack. Pass the turn back. Nettle Sentinel will stay tapped. Kazu will draw. Green Sun Zenith is what he's found. That can find another copy of Deathrite Shaman. There's a land.
And Brandon can't even really force a will at this stage because the 2 creatures in play are lethal if he cracks his fetch line and goes to 1.
Yep.
So at this point, Brandon has to just bank on Bonfire coming off to be able to steal this game.
Well, well, well. There's the cut. There's the Deathrite Shaman off the Zenith. Pass the turn back. Draw a card. Nope. And that's going to do it. We're heading to a third one. Couldn't find it. Can't believe he lost that game.
That was unbelievable. For an 18-land deck to draw something like 3 lands and 5 draw steps plus a Swift Spear plus, in a spot where Ponder, Brainstorm, Lightning Bolt, anything closes out the game. Pretty crazy stuff.
Take a look at the sideboards here. Hulings will be on the play. You see the 2 cages. Those are in the deck. And we have a feeling the Bonfire is. Null Rod, a Needle, 2 Grim Lavamancers, 2 Blood Moons, a Vortex, a Flusterstorm, a Pyroblast, 2 Smelts, and a spell Pierce, Even though he lost that game, it's got great sideboard cards.
Exactly. Like the Bonfire here, like the 2 copies of Grim Lavamancer naturally. There's a lot of stuff to needle out of the Elves deck, and the 2 copies of Gravdigger's Cage for Natural Order, Green Sun Zenith.
Other side of things, a Needle, a Reclamation Sage, an Ooze, a World Spinal Worm, Sylvan Library, 3 Abrupt Decays. We know those are in some number. Progenitus, 3 Cabal Therapies, and 3 Thoughtseize.
With the exception of the 3 copies of Abrupt Decay, the only card I'm really excited to see for this matchup is the copy of Scavenging Ooze.
Sure.
Can be good in a protracted game, just nuking graveyards and needing creatures. Also can keep Brandon off of Treasure Cruise.
I think Kazu knows. He barely got out of that one alive.
Yeah. Well, we got hung up a lot on how unfortunate Brandon's draw steps were, and they absolutely were bad when it looked like he was favored. But it almost looked like we got to that point because Kazu's hand was a disaster when we checked into the game.
Sure.
He had 2 copies of Natural Order and a Glimpse with no creatures. I mean, his hand was going nowhere. So,
and he did what he could to stay alive.
Exactly. Usually when someone gets that far ahead in the first place, they were pretty lucky to get there. And then it swings back the other way.
Well, we got a third one here. That last one was pretty good. See if they can top it. Hulings and Kazu Negri. Winner of it plays against Rudy Briska.
And I think Rudy is pretty comfortable with either matchup. I would imagine that he would rather play against Kazu just because against Brandon, the number 1 overall seed, he would be on the draw.
Yeah, I would think so. Makes a lot of sense there. It's been a fun tournament so far. You guys can't see at home right now, but Bobby Graves with Jeskai Ascendancy combo over Modern is still doing battle over there. He's in the finals right now, so we'll see if he's able to win it and put that deck on the map. And our Modern Premier IQs, we already saw a very skilled player and Steve Rubin won our Standard Open with Obs on mid-range. Played some fantastic Magic.
Yes, he did. And only 2 matchups that Bobby said he's worried about. Mono Red Burn because of Eidolon, and Blue Red Delver because of, cheap interaction and a quick clock.
Yeah. Feels very Legacy-esque, doesn't it?
Yep. It's a lot of the same stuff. You lose Force of Will, you lose Days. Cantrips aren't quite as good, but there's a lot of similarities between the 2 decks.
It does make you wonder if Birthing Pod's been pushed out of the format now a little bit. I hope not, because I love pod decks, but we'll see.
I have to imagine the Ascendancy matchup is a nightmare.
Well, I think you have to make some real concessions to your deck. That's for sure. If you're
playing
with pod.
Birds and Sphinxes and,
playing some fair Magic.
Restoration Angel.
Well, Blink my Sphinx. Looks like I'm at 22.
Yeah, it's 22.
Can you deal 22?
Good luck. You understand what just happened here? The Sphinx is back. If they had a counter, it's gone now. It's totally reset.
Yep.
I have a 3/4 flyer. That's a really good deal. Sphinx is back online. I have a hand of cards still. You don't know what that could be.
Best of luck attacking. Tell you what.
As they killed you 2 turns previous.
That's why they give you 3 games.
Yep.
7 cards here for each player. We'll see if they can keep their openers. Elves is explosive. Then again, so is Blue Red Delver. There's a Cage, a Forked Bolt, a Ponder, a Force of Will. I would have a hard time mulliganing.
The only thing this hand's really missing is a piece of pressure. Otherwise, this hand is great.
Yeah. Cage is in.
And I like leading off with the Cage on turn 1 instead of the Ponder. So if your opponent's plan was the Zenith for 0, that is shut off.
Yeah, that has been hit with the whammy. Misty Rainforest, searching up a Bayou. You've got a 1-mana spell coming. If I was Kazu, I would not cast Green Sun Zenith.
No. It does look like Kazu has both Abrupt Decay and Reclamation Sage, however.
Green decks are good at answering artifacts.
Traditionally.
Deathrite Shaman is the turn 1 play. This is a Forked Bolt. That is a Ponder. Take a look at a couple cards here. Seems like a pretty quick shuffle as Brandon was looking at 3 lands.
Needs a creature. Given enough time, even these, removal spells, these Grafter Cages, elves can break out of this. So it needs to be accompanied by pressure. Or something that's locking Kazu out of the game entirely, like Grim Lavamancer.
Looks like Wooded Foothills was the draw. There is Wooded. It's a Quirion Ranger.
And these little elves, I don't think Brendan can afford to fight over. Gotta save it for the big stuff.
Yeah. That's what makes playing it so difficult is, all the little elves just seem so redundant. Which ones are you supposed to fight over and counter?
Looks like Brandon is contemplating this.
Yeah, but he's going to let it go. Untap and draw a card. Again, same thing that you talked about. He's just looking for a way to get some pressure going. This is a Delver, so the pressure has been found. So there that guy is. Gataxian Probe, take a little look. Hellish Visionary, Abrupt Decay, Birchlore Rangers, a Forest, and Misty Rainforest. Honestly, a pretty honest hand.
Yep. Though, the Abrupt Decay can fend off the Delver, and if Brandon doesn't find any backup pressure, Kazu has the ability to just start attacking.
One card we did see Brandon pick up actually was a copy of Treasure Cruise for the turn, I believe. So he can refill. He's got 3 cards in the graveyard. Delta would make it 4. If Delver dies, that would be 5. So
he also has the ability to just force will something because he has a Flusterstorm in his hand that's not doing very much right now. Doesn't look like it will do very much based on Kazu's hand.
Another Hellish Visionary drawn. Not a bad place to lead out.
And I think at this stage, that card is Force of Will worthy. Especially since it guarantees access to the Treasure Cruise next turn.
An aggressive attack.
I like it.
Get in there, Quirion Ranger. Show them who you are.
First order of business.
You want to block with your Delver? I don't care.
Beat downtown.
Visionaries on the stack. Resolves. Let it resolve very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's at least worth considering there because the Force of Will goes to card number 4. Graftricker's Cage, the Delta is card number 5, and now all of a sudden you're good to go.
Delta was the draw. Delver not flipping. And just passing. Holding a land perhaps for Brainstorm. There's a glimpse. Well.
Oh, so the card in question was not Treasure Cruise, it was a Pierce.
Oh, Spell Pierce? Okay, makes sense.
That explains a lot of last turn's plays.
Yep. Here's Spell Pierce. We're paying. Well, well, well. Now we're Flusterstorming. What's interesting here is, your Flusterstorm, you Pierce and you tap your opponent out, but if they have a Cradle, they can go crazy. And Kazu actually has Cradle.
Yep.
So I actually like the fact that he's Flusterstorming here. It's a little unorthodox, but I think it's actually important that that's done. And here's an attack for 2.
And there's also the question of what else is this Flusterstorm doing?
Mm-hmm.
If Kazu's about to go crazy with mana, which there's a good chance of, Flusterstorm's not worth very much going forward.
Draw a card off the second Visionary. Check with the Delver, Gataxian Probe. Brandon needs to get some momentum going.
Yep.
He finally flipped the flyer. so he can start getting some damage in. He's going to take two himself, cast a probe, take a look at the grip.
And normally these probes are freebies against elves, but I think there's a very good chance of Kazu just attacking Brandon to death.
Yeah, Decay Dried Arbor over there. Kazu going to tap. Again, he's got loads of mana. Wirewood is the draw. It's a pretty good one.
Yep, Visionary is already good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Though I'm still not letting up on the aggression this turn, and this is where I like starting the turn. Just get your attack in. After combat, you can do all your shenanigans.
3 damage in. Sense a little bit of weakness, too. Brandon's just not doing very much.
Well, that's the thing about Blue-Red Delver. A lot of it's what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
There's cantrips. There's a lot of proactive stuff. The only really purely reactive stuff is creature removal, which Brandon probably would have cast at some point along the way, and the counter spells, which you also probably would have seen by now. So you don't have to worry about him sitting on too much.
4 green. Pick it up. Untap it. Play it again. Peel a card. 2 left. Abrupt Decay still in the grip. There's a land for the turn. Misty Rainforest. Pass it back. Hulings. Not a bonfire.
It is so exciting that that card is in his deck.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to live if I was Kazu. I would not.
Just every draw step is so stressful.
Yeah. 3 in the air.
Now, because Brandon doesn't have a lot of pressure going, and Kazu can break this up in a moment's notice with the Abrupt Decay, it's not like the bonfire is game over. We play on. But it is really stressful in a spot where normally elves would be all but guaranteed the win.
Down to 12. Wirewood's going to activate that turn. Pick this up. Untap there. Kazu will draw. Didn't get a great look at it. 2 mana. Visionary. Very scary. Hulings considering forcing, but he won't. Draw a card. Nettle Sentinel.
A fine beater.
Gets the job done. 2/2 for 1. We love it.
Pouncing Jaguar.
Yeah.
A storied history.
Get you for 3. Slowly chip away. Hulings down to 7. Time to sacrifice Misty. Put him down to 11.
And I think there's some merit here in just putting enough on the table where you have 7 points next turn.
There's a Bayou. Yeah, I think so.
You know, Nettle Sentinel plus 1 other elf, and you are presenting lethal.
Abrupt Decay is going to get that out of the way. He's going to pass the turn back. Is it time? It's not.
Just respecting Bonfire of the Damned.
Pass the turn back. Pick it up. Just still building a card drawing engine, really.
Well,
and as you mentioned, respecting Bonfire.
This is great insurance. I mean, he's still going to kill in 2 turns. You know, this plus the next turn, most likely, if Brandon doesn't do anything big. And he's playing the game in such a way that if Brandon does rip his Bonfire, well, he's got 6 cards left in his hand.
Visionary. Going to sacrifice, going out 2.
Yeah, this is a win. This is a win as well.
Yeah. Make it 1. Ugh.
And now Bonfire doesn't really matter at all.
No, not at all. Mountain. Yeah, that Visionary's going to get forced. You throw it over there in the graveyard. Hand right now for Brandon is a Lightning Bolt and a Force of Will. To go along with the Force of Will, he's just casting right now. So, blue card and a red card left. Pass it back. Is it a Bonfire? It is not, and that is going to do it. Kazu Negri going to win this match over Brandon Hulings, 2-1. He made it out alive in one heck of a game number 2. Won that one pretty easily, and he's going to go against Rudy Brisca.